Hey guys, what's up? Inksmith back again, and today I've got a bit of a unique one. This is a follow-up video, but we're dealing with someone who, while he used Reddit quite a bit and he was online quite a bit, he didn't have his own YouTube channel, he didn't really have a TikTok. He did post quite frequently on Twitter as well as Reddit within the furry communities and alt-right communities, but I guess his presence wasn't really known as a social media inspirer or creator or mover and shaker within the YouTube world, as I usually do. I don't think there was even a TikTok for this guy, but it's just such an interesting story. I had to share it. We are dealing with a person whose persona name was known as Polybun. His real name was known as Ben Smith, and he was a 43-year-old who lived in Rose City Terrace Apartments in Portland, Oregon. From the research I could do, Ben Smith seemed to have started his sort of online presence by hanging out in many different car communities within Reddit. And when I say car communities, I mean like old style cars which you would do a fix them up or take them down, tear them apart and build them back up, or just interchange parts or collect parts. And that's where he got his start. I guess he had a pretty friendly community there and things went pretty well. But slowly his interest began to devolve into all sorts of conspiracy theories, and especially around the time that there was the big C-19 outbreak of 2020. And I guess all the locked inside and mask and vaccine sort of arguments and trauma the world experienced during that time, it took a big toll on a little bit of everybody. Being locked in for that long for quarantine really got to some people. And I guess it was during this time that Ben Smith, or Polybun himself, started to get really involved in conspiracies surrounding the coronavirus and getting into different QAnon websites where he started to follow all sorts of those outliers and fringe thoughts that led him into a sort of downward spiral. At first, his roommates that he lived with at the time said he moved in and seemed like a pretty normal guy who talked about pretty normal things like cars, stuff on the internet, of course, his own furry stuff and persona. And slowly he began to become a very bitter and angry person. I guess that's kind of what I want to look at today and see where it led him and sort of the tragedy that unfolded because of this. Now, one interview I found that led a little more insight on what exactly happened with Ben Smith, or Polybun, was an interview with his roommate, Christine Christensen, who said that when he first moved into his apartment 7 years ago, he let her stay there for free. She said, "When I first moved in, he seemed fine," she said. "He was actually not that bad of a guy." She said Smith slowly became more radicalized, starting in the later years of the Obama administration and accelerating during the Trump administration. At times, she heard him yelling racial slurs in his room and talking horribly about women. As the years went on, he's just gotten more and more radicalized. He got angrier and angrier, Christensen said. "I have not been comfortable living with him for a while now. I did not feel safe with him, especially these last 2 years with the whole COVID lockdown thing. I think that made him even more angry." He talked about wanting to go shoot commies and Antifa, quote unquote, all the time, Christensen said. He was just a sad, angry dude. He talked about wanting to do this for a while. He was angry at the mask mandates. He was angry at the damn liberals. So what we have here is another average internet user who slowly spiraled into a dark, dark path towards the extreme alt-right. I'm not saying this is something that can happen every day, and probably you yourself have heard a story like this happening in the past, but never have we seen the effects so devastatingly lead to something so violent. Something got twisted in Ben Smith's mind, and I've heard from some people who I talked about in the furry community that there is niches within the furry community of alt-right, of even neo-Nazis, but these are very, very minor. These are extremely niche and extremely rare. So I don't want anybody to think I'm judging the community as a whole by one singular bad apple. Every community out there has somebody who's ruined it for them or done something crazy in the name of a community. And that's all Ben Smith has done. I don't think any of us should judge furries on this. And in fact, I'm more than open minded to furries. I have friends myself who are furries. It's not my thing. I will never be buying a fur costume or having a fursona, but I don't really see any harm in it, honestly. Now, with Ben Smith here, we've watched a dark spiral unfold, and you're wondering, what exactly did Ben do? Well, that's where we get to a very violent scene, and I'm going to issue a trigger warning now. This is not pretty. In a news report by local news in the Portland area, a title read, "One Dead, 5 Injured in Shooting Near Normandale Park in Northeast Portland." The man suspected of shooting and killing a racial justice demonstrator Saturday night has been identified as Benjamin Jeffrey Smith, 43, of Northeast Portland. Police confirmed Tuesday morning that Smith remains hospitalized in serious condition. A spokesperson for Monomoth County District Attorney Mike Schmidt said the investigation is moving forward and Smith could be charged regardless of his condition. Smith's identity was first reported by anti-fascist researchers and the Oregonian Live. Smith's roommate and neighbors said he had grown increasingly angry with protests in the neighborhood and across the city, as well as the unhoused community who camp in the area. So there you have it. A demonstration shooting that got way out of hand, especially because this guy got really violent and pulled out a gun on the demonstrators. Demonstrators said the shooting happened after Smith allegedly started yelling at a group of racial justice protectors holding a Justice for Amir Locke, a demonstration at Normandale Park. Locke, who was a black man killed by Minneapolis police serving a no-knock warrant earlier this month. Witnesses to the Saturday shooting said people attempted to de-escalate the situation. Yeah, everything I read about this said that pretty much everybody tried to get him to calm down. Even though he came out and started yelling at the protesters, they said, okay, look, we'll calm down and move out of here and be done with this part of our protest in this area very soon. But that wasn't enough for Ben Smith, and he began to get more and more enraged. When Smith allegedly pulled out a handgun and fired into the crowd, killing Brandy June Knightley, 60, and injuring 4 others. Witnesses said a protester returned fire, hitting Smith, who is in critical condition, according to the Oregonian. At this point, it mentions who the person is that returned fire, but I have heard from multiple sources, including my own viewers and subscribers, that this person did not want their name mentioned in this, so I'm going to rightfully respect that and not do so. Knightley became involved with the protest. Now, if you don't remember, June Knightley is the woman who sadly died during this. Knightley became involved in the protest movement after the George Floyd march passed by her home in 2020. Since then, she attended many demonstrations and often protected protesters from traffic and other interference, a job she was also doing on Saturday when she was killed. Now, this is a really sad situation, and pretty much the FBI has been working with Portland Police Bureau to determine whether there are any other potential federal violations related to the shooting that happened. And this happened very recently, too. This was February 1st, 2022. So you're probably not even heard much about this unless you live in that area. It's a really strange situation to see someone get hooked on the internet and then slowly led down a path into the extreme. And guys, you got to be careful. This is in a situation of the extreme alt-right, guns blazing, going crazy for a cause that probably doesn't want anything to do with you after you've completely ruined their name by attacking innocent people. But I've seen this happen on both the left and the right. And I think extremism of any kind is very dangerous. Extremism within religion, within political cause, leads to terrorism in a sense. So it's something we should all kind of monitor within ourselves. How much do we believe in something, and do those beliefs lead to a path of violence? Violence really never solves anything. It doesn't convince anybody to join your cause, and at the end of the day, it makes both you and your cause look horrible. What happened in this situation? Very sad. And June Knightley, the woman who was simply trying to protect protesters, who died, is another sad aspect of this, and both my thoughts and prayers are with her and her family. She sounds like she was a real humane person who really cared about her fellow humans and really was out just to take care of people and protect people. So it's sad, like someone like her had died during this. Not so sad that we lost Ben Smith, but at the same time sad to have seen that he went down such a self-destructive path that led him on this. And he could have found the more peaceful side of furries, because in general, I tend to think of very peaceful people when I think of the friends I have who are in the furry scene. So, you know, like I said, don't judge everything by one person's bad actions, but do realize that every community has a bad apple. I hope you enjoyed this story today. It's a very different and unique one. Let me know what you think in the comments below of how this could have led to this situation. Till next time, I've been the Inksmith. Have a great rest of the